Once again, thank you all and welcome to everybody who is joining today. We will be learning about the Department of Labor's National Veterans Training Institute, or NVTI, and I will let our presenter, Brandon Webb, take it from here.
Thank you, Hunter. And I just want to say thank you to Hunter and Deidre. Got a lot of cool things I want to show you that I'm hoping you can leverage. So again, I'm Brandon Webb. I'm the NVTI lead, that's the National Veterans Training Institute. I'm on the DOL VETS side. I've been with VETS for about, I guess this month will be 7 years. Wow, I didn't even realize it was this month. In fact, it's going to be next week. I'll hit my 7-year mark. All right. So I started out with VETS as an assistant director in California, the San Francisco region, just in the Sacramento field office. I was an assistant director there for about 5 years, and I've been in this position for a couple years now. And I'm living currently just north of Sacramento. We were just talking a little bit about the weather earlier. Interesting times we're in now. Next slide, please. So what are we going to talk about today? Today, I'm going to show you all a little bit about DOL VETS. We're going to go over an NVTI overview. We're going to talk about some training and courses related to veteran service providers. That's you all. And then we're going to look at how you get started with maybe attending a course or accessing some training. We're going to take a live look at the website. I'll walk you through everything you need to do. Next slide, please. All right, so who is the National Veterans Training Institute, NVTI? So originally it was established in 1986 to, as you can see, to further develop and enhance the professional skills of veterans employment and training service providers. Specifically, and this is where we get our funding from because it's written into law under Title 38, Section 4109, for the JVSG, and that's the State Veterans, Jobs for Veterans State Grant Program. And it's also provisioned, as you can see, and such other personnel in the provision of employment, job training, job placement, and related services to veterans. And that's you all. And so what we're really trying to do with this webinar is make sure that you all have a good understanding of what's available to you. There's a lot of things that you guys can leverage as far as training your staff and working with veterans. If you missed the webinar for that was specifically on DOL VETS programs, I believe they're going to share a link to that webinar that you can access. And there was a presentation that happened that talked all about the different programs that VETS oversees. And so we're going to talk specifically about the NVTI program today. So what I do is I oversee some contractors, and that's Management Concepts. As you can see that last bullet there, that the program is funded by DOL VETS, but it's administered by Management Concepts. So I work directly with those contractors for the school, essentially we call it a school, that develops courses and podcasts, webinars, and microlearnings, and all the resources that we can find for you all, veteran service providers, and our target audience, the Jobs for Veterans State Grant staff and the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the NVTI learning ecosystem, and basically it's a snapshot of everything that NVTI offers. And so you can see that there's resources, we write articles, we do podcasts. I was just telling Hunter a little bit ago that we're starting a podcast for serving veterans that are at risk of being homeless or are homeless. And so I want to touch on a little bit of why this training is important to you all, because we've got podcasts, webinars, classes, microlearnings. We have a student portal. There's a community of practice. So here's what I know. If you're a veteran service provider, you probably are working with veterans that are in danger of being homeless or are homeless. You're probably working with rural veterans. You're probably working with justice-involved veterans. You're probably working with Native American veterans. We have training specifically on those special populations. So I've got some really cool courses and training opportunities to show you all that are directly related to what you all do. And I think you're going to find it exciting. A lot of good things that are happening. And so you can see on the right-hand side that we've got 21 different courses. 4 of them are online cohorts, self-paced learnings, online curriculums. We have 16 podcasts. And I'm going to show you what those are in a little bit. 23 webinars and 15 microlearnings. And I want to talk a little bit about the delivery methods on the next slide, please. So NVTI actually offers courses. These are specific to the courses, aside from the webinars, what we call on-demand learning. These are actual courses that you can attend. We offer them in 5 different formats because we know that some people learn better in person, some people learn better through virtual format. So we offer a multiple ways of attending courses. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about these and what they are, so I can give you a better idea, and you can maybe determine what would best suit your needs. So where you see says classroom, that's just what it is. It's an in-person class. Virtual is exactly like it sounds. It's a virtual class. It's an instructor-led virtual class. The things that confuse some people are what's an online cohort, what's the difference between that and a self-paced class or an online curriculum. And so starting with an online cohort, that's what we call our university model. And this is what you would find that would be most similar to if you've taken a college or a university class online. So it's a pretty good way to take a course. Normally these are longer courses, but the nice thing about it is it turns into an online format that you work at your own pace, sort of. So with an online cohort, there's an initial kickoff meeting with the instructor who kind of lays the foundation and everything that's going to happen throughout the class, walks you through the website, where to click and everything. And then from that point on, it turns into an online format, meaning that you would respond to posts, you would make posts, you have homework assignments due by a certain date, and you all work within your time, just as long as you're doing it, by the deadline set up by the instructor for the class. So it's a pretty good way to take a course if you're not able to sit in either an in-person or a virtual class for that amount of time. Now, what's a self-paced course? A self-paced course is exactly like it sounds. It's a self-paced class, and the difference between that and an online curriculum is that a self-paced course is continuous. So once you begin the self-paced course, you'll continue through it until you complete it. The difference between that and an online curriculum is the online curriculum is essentially a self-paced course, but it's broken up into modules. And so you'll complete module 1 before you can start up module 2. And so you go through it in chunks, and you can leave and come back to the spot that you left off on. So that's the difference between the different methods, delivery methods. And we'll take a look at when we do the website walkthrough. I'll show you the schedule, and you can see what format the courses are offered in. Next slide, please. All right. So what I did was I went through and I pulled out some of the courses that I thought would benefit a veteran service provider and kind of a general veteran service provider organization. And you can see that there's some pretty cool things on here. First thing I want to start off with is if you see in red, tuition for all the virtual NVTI courses is free of charge. Now that's a good deal. So while I was in the military, I'm an Air Force veteran. I had a unique opportunity to what they call it a commandant, but essentially run a leadership school. And what I would tell the incoming students was that organizations pay a lot of money to send their staff to training courses like this. So here I am kind of eating my own words a little bit by telling you this is all free. So just because it's free does not mean it's low quality. Let me dispel that myth right now. These are incredible courses. We work with some of the finest subject matter experts in the field to develop these courses and the content. And I think you'll really find them enjoyable. We get a lot of good feedback on these courses and some really useful things. So I'm just going to touch on just a couple of them. I'm not going to read every one of them to you, but the first thing I always encourage a veteran service provider or those working with veterans directly is the Unconscious Bias course, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Accessibility in Veteran Services. It's a one-day virtual class. This is a really interesting course because you'll find out a lot about yourself that you may not have known. Everybody has biases. It's just a fact. What we don't know is that we may be making decisions based on certain biases that we don't even know we have. One of the examples is that I use in my briefings is that there's actually a bias for people who would consider that they look good. People are usually more favorable to somebody who they feel looks good to them in their eyes. And so I always say that, like, I must get the most worst judgments of all because I must be the ugliest guy in the room. But just, simple little things like that you make decisions on may affect, the way you provide services. And so really good course to take. I can't recommend that one enough. The managing case management class, that's a supervised focus class. So if you have staff that are involved with case management activities, this is the course for the supervisors that manage those staff. Kind of how would you manage if you have multiple staff in case management activities, what's the best way to get the most out of them and make it to where they're the most productive that they can be. The advanced case management class is specifically for those involved with the case management duties. And then you can see the business-driven workforce solutions and the critical thinking for business writing, really good courses. I do want to talk a little bit about the special populations courses, because I think that's where you're going to find a lot of cool things. And there's actually 10 of them that we have. And I mentioned just a few of them. We have career coaching for special populations on serving veterans in American Indian and Alaska Native veterans, rural veterans, veterans with disability and accessibility needs, veteran spouses. We have courses on serving LGBTQ plus veterans, course on specific to women veterans, serving older veterans and younger veterans, veterans experiencing homelessness, and then justice-involved veterans. And I'll give you a kind of a peek behind the curtain. Right now, this year, we're developing another special populations course on serving veterans with substance use disorders. And I'm sure if you're in any kind of veteran space, you're serving one of these populations. So take advantage of one of these courses, really good information. And then again, you can see the online cohorts. So the Veterans Benefit online cohort, we get such good feedback on it. It's a little tough to commit to a 4-week course or a month-long course, but again, it's that online cohort format, which means you'll have an initial one-day kickoff and it turns into that university model style class. You may be wondering what that acronym that you see there, it's called USERRA. USERRA is the Uniform Services Employment Re-Employment Rights Act. And so this is specific to if you work or if you employ veterans. There's a whole set of laws and statutes that are specific to working with veterans and employing veterans. And so these are self-paced classes. They only take about, as you can see, 45 minutes each. You can knock them both out in an hour and a half. But there's a requirement aspect to these courses. And what that means is that your application needs to go through an approval process on our side. We're required to monitor and approve who attends these courses. They're compliance courses. But I can't tell you enough about how good they are. If you work with veterans in any aspect as far as employment, this would be good information to know. Part of what DOL VETS does, one of the other programs, is they do military discrimination investigations. And one of the things that we commonly say is that if more organizations understood the statutes that regard employing veterans, like whether they're in the Guard or the Reserves or just a general veteran, the things that you need to know when you employ those folks, if more people understood those laws, we would get a lot less cases, a lot less military discrimination cases involved. I'm looking at these courses, and I want to say something else about these courses, and we're going to look at the schedule. And you may look at this schedule and say, that's great that you offer those courses, Brandon, but what happens if I can't attend on that day? Or I'd like to get everybody in my office together, but we just can't all attend on that day that the course is offered. And it's not offered again until 4 or 5 months later or something of that nature. There is the option for organizations to request what we call special training or off-course training from NVTI. So you could look at that. We're going to look at all the courses, and like, for instance, you say, yeah, I would love for 25 of my staff to attend the case management class or the unconscious bias class or one of those special populations classes. And so what NVTI also does is they have the ability to edit or amend those courses. And so currently the special populations classes are being offered in series, which means there's 2 at a time, and it's a 3.5-day course. You may say that we're hosting a conference for 25 people, but we don't have 3.5 days for a conference to have everybody attend this course. You can ask NVTI to amend that course to fit to your schedule. So you may only be able to give them 4 hours or something of that nature. They'll work with you. There is a cost associated with requesting special training or off-course training. That's all negotiated depending on what you want through management concepts and the business side. The way that process works is when an organization requests it, it's a simple process. Just let me know if you want more details about it. But once they request it, management concepts negotiates the cost and the focus of the training directly with the organization, and then it comes over to us for approval, and then you host your event. But I did want to put that out there. There is that ability to get some of these courses in different ways. And just because you don't see the date that you're able to attend on the schedule, there's another opportunity. But again, there is a little bit of a cost associated with requesting an off-schedule course. So next slide, please. All right, so really good webinars. These are what we're getting into the on-demand learning. And so from the NVTI website, you'll be able to access these anytime. The last one that we've got up on the site, we did a veteran suicide prevention. And we worked with, her name's Lily Mells with the VA, and just a fantastic webinar. And part of that webinar is they offer it's called VA Save. It's a training module put on through PsychArmor that works for veteran service providers to better understand mitigating veteran suicide, providing resources. One of the other things I wanted to highlight, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but you can see what we offer. There's some really good things. The Resources to Serve Veterans webinar. When we started working on this webinar, it just fantastic information first and foremost, but there was so much information that we had to put out a guide. It's a 12-page guide in addition to the webinar. So when you access the webinar, you'll see that there's a link to that resource guide as well. Highly recommend checking that out. There's so many good resources. Like, as a veteran myself, I didn't even understand that there was all these resources available to veterans, and just can't talk enough about how much good information there is. And the cool thing about it is you can open that guide up and do a quick control find on it and find what you're looking for real quick. Great opportunity. Next slide, please. Really excited about the podcast that we've been hosting. I mentioned that we just started a podcast today on serving homeless veterans. But as you can see there, what we're doing is and I'm going to show you a slide. We're calling it connecting content. And so what that means is that you're going to be able to connect, courses and podcasts and resources together. And I'll show you an example of that. But what we're trying to do is make sure that we don't develop training and call it a one and done. Essentially, if there's a course on a special population or a certain focus area on serving veterans, we want to make sure that that's not the only thing that we host on it. So we're doing podcasts as well. And so you can see we've got some really good podcasts. A lot of these are focused on the veterans themselves, but I want to talk to you all about, because I know if you're like me, you're feeling it, addressing burnout and secondary trauma in veteran service providers. So this one's targeted towards you all. And it's focused on mitigating the things that cause burnout and providing, kind of a plan to help you through those times, because I know there are definitely times where you're feeling burned out and things can get overwhelming. So we need you to be the best version of yourself, so that way you can provide the best services that you can to the veterans that you work with. And so I want to make sure that everyone understands that this is not just for those working directly with veterans. If you're in the veteran service provider, you can be on the program side, you can be the manager, you can be a supervisor, you can be on the financial side. This affects you as well. So please take advantage, take a listen. I guarantee you're going to learn something. But as you can see, we've got some fantastic podcasts, really good way to grab some information through an audio means. And so we work really hard in grabbing some experts to be involved with these podcasts. And you can see we've got some really good ones serving veteran spouses, serving veterans with accessibility needs, just all kinds of really nice podcasts. And what you may see on here on this list is that we've got two serving LGBTQ plus veterans. And so what we did, again, we're going back to that theme where we're not going to do just a one and done training opportunity and say we check the box. We're going to continue down this path and as long as it takes. So we hosted an LGBTQ veterans podcast last year, and we continued the conversation with a different set of LGBTQ veterans this year. And so they talk about their experiences in the military, their transition out, their process for finding employment, and the work that they're doing now. Really, really proud. And June is Pride Month. And so that's why we targeted this month for this one to go up on the website. Really good information. I think you'll find it interesting. Next slide, please. So what's a microlearning? So a microlearning is a really cool way to get a bunch of information in a really short amount of time. And so all of our microlearnings are quick videos. Everything is under 10 minutes. Most of them are around the 6, 7, 8 minute mark. And so the unconscious bias microlearning is kind of a teaser trailer. So if you're not too sure about that unconscious bias course, check out that, I think it's like 6 minutes long, the microlearning, and watch it. And maybe you can make a better decision on if the course is right for you. I think you'll like it. On our side, on the DOL VETS side, as our organizations are working with veterans, one of the requirements is that they complete an individual employment plan. Now, I have the sneaky feeling that you all have something like this in your organizations if you're working with veterans, especially finding in them meaningful employment. So what we did was we created a template. We've got a bunch of experts in the room, and we created a microlearning on completing an individual employment plan. So you'll be able to access this base template. You can use it, not use it. You can take it and say, yeah, I like, parts A, B, and C, and that's all we're going to use. And we're going to develop our own based on that. Please, whatever you find is most useful to you and your organization. But we walk through this completing the individual employment plan, each section, and kind of how to fill it out. The eligibility and intake triage process, and this is for veterans entering, and the acronym is AJC, and we call it an American Job Center. And so that's part of our Jobs for Veterans State Grant. And you may have heard of Wagner-Pizer or the WIOA programs. So veterans can enter an American Job Center, and if they're eligible for the JVSG program, they'll be assessed and they'll get to work with that side of the house. But the eligibility and intake triage microlearning is what a veteran can expect when they enter an American Job Center, and how the intake process will go for them. And I really, if you're working with the American Job Centers, I really highly recommend this one. So there's no surprises if you refer somebody over to the American Job Center. Everybody's on board with exactly what's going to happen or what should happen when they enter it. Really encourage that one. And then making the careers happen for veterans, community of practice. Now I want to talk a little bit about the community of practice. And so to access that community of practice, and we have thousands and thousands of posts in the community of practice. And what's nice about the community of practice is that there's a search feature. To access the community of practice, you need to enroll in one of the courses. So if you wanted to enroll in a course, you automatically, and we're going to take a look at what the student portal looks like, that gives you access to the community of practice. But the cool thing about it is it's all neatly categorized. You can find a category that interests you, or say, hey, that's what we do. Let me check and see what people are talking about. Or you can pose a question in the community of practice and say, hey, this is our issue. This is our situation. Anybody have any recommendations, promising practices, those kind of things. And you'll get responses. There's also what we call Ask a Fed. There's an Ask a Fed button in there that if you have a question for a federal employee on the DOL VETS side, you can pose your question there as well. So lots of good things happening in the community of practice, a lot of good information there. And then you see our resources as far as apprenticeships, serving disabled veterans, and some featured articles there as well. All right, next slide, please. So this is that making content connections example I was talking about. So currently we have a special populations course. And again, it's a 3.5-day course, and you get 2 special populations. You get serving American Indian and Alaska Native veterans, and then rural veterans. That'll be 1 course. As well, we have podcast episodes as well on serving rural veterans and Native American veterans. There's resources specific to serving American Indian and Alaska Native veterans. There's articles as well. And then again, that unconscious bias course, really good information. So we're trying to make sure that our ecosystem connects to each other, and everybody is aware. Some of the feedback that we routinely receive is that, wow, that's a great course. I didn't realize that you had also a podcast and you also had resources on that same subject. So if there's a population that you work with regularly, lots of good training opportunities to find out what's going on with those populations. Next slide, please. All right, so how do you get started? So first thing you want to do is you're going to want to take a look at the class descriptions. I'm going to walk you through the website. And in that class descriptions, there's a drop-down box, and it shows you kind of an explanation of the course. And there's a target audience listed there. I don't want you to pay attention to that target audience, because you as veteran service providers are eligible to take any course on the NVTI curriculum schedule. And so, although it does say target audience, that's our target audience is them, but that doesn't restrict you from attending one of those courses. And then we're going to take a look at the NVTI schedule as well. Next slide, please. So to get started, you want to start off with, once you find the class, yeah, I'd like to take the unconscious bias course, Brandon. You'll go to there's a link called registering for NVTI classes. And so we click on that, you'll find the application, complete the application, you just walk through it, fill out the applicable portions, submit the application over to NVTI Student Services, and then you'll get enrolled. Pretty simple process. Next slide, please. All right, and this is the student portal. So once you get registered for a class and enrolled in a class, this is the landing page. So you'll log into NVTI, and then you'll land on this page, and you can see there's all kinds of neat categories here. There's off to the right, there's need to know for NVTI classes before class, during class, and after class. And below that, there's a nice resource section as well. You're going to see off to the left there, My Training. These are the courses that you're currently enrolled in or registered in. It'll show you if you have courses coming up as well. And then there's the links to the collaboration spaces. That's the community of practice. So that's how you would access the community of practice right there. As soon as you get enrolled into a class, you'll have access to this student portal, and you can access everything that NVTI offers. Next slide, please. All right. So I'm going to show you how to access this, subscribe to the NVTI mailing list. highly encourage that. This is where you're going to get all the updates that come out routinely when things hit the website. New podcast hits the website, new courses developed. Maybe a course changes dates. They're going to put this out through the mailing list. So highly recommend that, you throw your email address in there and get subscribed to the mailing list. You won't regret it. Some of the things you'll also find is that there's going to be, we routinely highlight veteran success stories. Again, resources and other DOL and NVTI related news. Next slide, please. So here's where I'm going to ask something of you all. I always fight for feedback, and good or bad, I need to know. So there's multiple ways that you can provide feedback on the website, and I'll show you where it's at. There's a contact NVTI if you have a question about a course that you attended. There's also at the end of every course, there's a course evaluation. And so that's when you're going to get to talk about how you felt about the course, what you thought was good, what you thought was bad, what you think needs improved. And what NVTI does is on the last day of class, it's part of the class, you'll complete that evaluation. And then 90 days later, you're going to get another evaluation. And there's a purpose to that. And you're like, man, enough spam, Brandon. But we do this for a reason. And so when you attend a course, you may feel certain ways about it. And what we want to do is make sure that when you get back into your job or your organization, you have some time to digest it, see if some of the things and methods that you learned about, if you can apply those. And then we're going to ask, hey, did you find value now that you've been back in your position for a couple months? Do you find value in what we taught? What would you suggest we change? So is there something great, or if there's something else you'd like to see? If there's a portion of training that we're missing, that, hey, it would be great if you had training on this, let me know. My contact information is going to be here. You can let NVTI know as well. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the live walkthrough, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen here with you all, and we'll walk through the website. All right. So you all should be seeing my screen now. I want to make sure that that's good. Okay, so here's the landing page for the NVTI website. And so you can see right across the top here, there's some links with drop downs. And so under this first drop down, there's the class descriptions, course delivery methods, the class schedule, and then registering for an NVTI class and some training plans. Those training plans are specific to right now our Jobs for Veterans State Grant staff. I will let you know that we are right now we're working on what we're calling a journey map for our target audiences. There's going to be a journey map for the Jobs for Veterans State Grant staff, the homeless veterans reintegration staff, and then as well, we're going to put out a veteran service provider journey map, and it's going to have some time frames associated with the two. What you should complete in the first week, what you should take in the first 3 months, first 6 months, first year. Kind of a nice little map or pathway for you to attend courses and get the most out of the NVTI training. So the first thing I want to show you right here is this class descriptions link. So when you click on that one, it's going to take you right down to some categories. Now, these are JVSG required courses. You can see all the courses there. And then DevOps specialist and Lever specialist courses. And then here you can see the special populations courses. And if you click this see more, it's going to open it up, and you're going to see that there's a course description. And here's this target audience that I was talking about. Don't pay too much attention to that right there, because like I said, as a veteran service provider, you're eligible to take any of this training. And again, all the virtual classes are free. So this gives you a quick explanation on what you're going to learn in the class. So it maybe help you decide if that's a class that you want to take. And then we have other courses for veteran service providers. Again, you can hit this drop down, and it gives you your target audience and then class description as well. So you can walk through these class descriptions and decide if this is a course that interests you or not. There is a section down here that says DOL VETS courses, federal staff only. So these are specific to VETS staff only. So let's take a look at the schedule. And I want you to see what that looks like here. Here we go. So this is the class schedule for the remainder of the fiscal year. So through the end of September. So you can take a look and see the course title, the delivery method, the duration, the start and end dates. And sometimes there'll be a note off to the side. So you can scroll through this and see, oh yeah, there's a career coaching for special populations, LGBTQ plus and women veterans, June 13th through the 16th. That's a course I want to take. So like if you find a course on here that interests you, how do you submit the application? So you're going to come on over to logistics and you're going to see registering for NVTI classes. And so this is where you'll find the application form. And you're going to see another link here, locate your state DOL Director, Veterans of Employment. We call it a DVET. And so what we ask is that you also copy this, and you can find it. Let's just walk through it. I'll open it up for you. You can find your local DVET, and we ask that they be copied on the application for a reason, so they know who's attending courses and from what organizations in their state. So this is the application. Again, you'll just walk through it and you'll fill out the applicable sections. And when you're ready to copy that director, that DVET, you can find out who's the DVET in your state right here. You can either click on the state or you can scroll down here and click on the state as well. And say you're in North Carolina, it looks like the DVET is vacant right now, or South Carolina, you would just copy Robert Trahan on the email when you submit your application over to NVTI. So that's how you submit an application to NVTI Student Services. The application walks you right through everything that you need to see. My screen is getting blocked a little bit here. So I'm going to see if I can do something. Drag it down just a bit. There we go. All right, so here is our on-demand learning, and this is where you can find the microlearnings, the podcasts, and the webinars. So if you just click on podcasts, it's going to bring up the list of podcasts. Now, currently, all of our podcasts you need to access through the website. One of the things that we're working on our side is to purchase some ways of offering them through like Apple Music or Spotify, things of that nature, so you can access them through your mobile devices as well. The webinars are here as well. You can click on that. All you do is click on See More, and it's going to pop up, and you just click play, and you can start playing the webinar directly from the site. And then here's where you'll also access useful resources. And I wanted to show you this real quick. Blow it up again. So you can see that they're categorized. Education resources, general resources to serve veterans. Wow, what's there? Let's take a look. You can see there's a long list of different agencies that may find this useful. So you can take a look at these different resources and check them out. And there may be something in there that that is applicable to your organization. So it's a nice way to take a look at these different resources as well. And we're going to scroll back up. And then again, here's the mailing list. If you want to, here it is. This is a little bit about NVTI here. And if you need to contact NVTI as well. I'm not seeing, normally there's a subscribe to the NVTI mailing list up here. Let's see. Nope. So if you need to contact NVTI, this would be the way to do it. You can see there's phone numbers and there's the links here as well. Again, I'm not sure why I'm not seeing the mailing list here. Normally it pops right up here, contact NVTI. But if you have any questions, I'll kind of wrap this up with just letting you know, if you have any questions about the training that I've talked about the courses that I've shared, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this now. Reach out to me. Would love to hear from you. If you would like a more thorough walkthrough with some of your staff or an organization, I'm happy to do that. Talk about the training that NVTI can provide your staff and organization. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have now.
Brandon, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all this great information. We really appreciate it and know that a lot of our partners will be able to use that. Some questions that came in is, what was your favorite course or is your favorite course? And is there any that you would recommend as a starter for some of our general veteran serving organizations?
Oh, that's a great question. So yeah, I would start out with my favorite course, if you couldn't tell already, is the unconscious bias course. I think I loved that course so much because I learned so much about myself that I didn't realize. I had certain opinions that was affecting the way that I made decisions, and so it's helpful for me to understand that I have certain pitfalls that I need to avoid. So I would highly recommend starting there. The veteran suicide prevention webinar, start there right away. There's so much good information in that webinar. And I know that if you're working with veterans, it's an issue. And we just can't get enough good information about it. So yeah, start with that unconscious bias course. And then if your organization, you're seeing that there's a specific population that you're working with, check it out. I bet you NVTI offers a course on it or a podcast.
Wonderful. That's super helpful. And I know those podcasts, being able to kind of take that information on the go as you work out or, go about life is really useful as well. Mm-hmm. Another question that we had come in was, what type of stories of impact are you seeing? So when people do those follow-up, that feedback, how are they able to give you that feedback and what are you guys mm-hmm. using to kind of transform those courses, I guess, is a little bit more.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. The way that we develop content, courses, podcasts, webinars, microlearnings is all through feedback and recommendations. And so I'll share with you some feedback that we just received recently. Someone who attended the Serving the Alaskan and Native Veterans course. He is a disabled veteran outreach program specialist in New Mexico. And what he did through learning how to make connections with the reservations in his state, he reached out to them and now has a partnership and a relationship with the reservation in his state that he's able to go out there now and serve veterans on the reservation. What a cool way to kind of wrap up like your training is like, hey, I attended this course. I learned some things. I'm going to try it out. Wow, it worked. What a great way. And you're helping veterans in need.
Especially for some of those targeted populations that are, a little bit hard to serve and sometimes connect with even. So being able to have that opening really is helpful.
I'll share one other thing if I could, Hunter. There's that justice involved, serving justice involved veterans. And so we've done a podcast and a course on it. And so this is veterans that are transitioning from incarceration. And so you may be working with that population. And so there's some really good things that you could learn with how to serve them before they even transition out. Because a lot of times when they get out, they're in need of certain things. And that's the thing that I just can't impress upon you all enough. When veterans are searching out resources and coming to your organizations, they're struggling with something, whether it's employment, it may be homelessness, they may be in crisis. So there's all kinds of ways to help them. And NVTI offers just a suite of different resources and training opportunities to make you better at what you do.
Absolutely. Another question that just came in is, are there any other DOL agencies or resources that are available through NVTI or DOL as a whole that you can offer?
Yeah, so DOL has a fantastic apprenticeship program. I'm going to date myself a little bit. When I originally would think of apprenticeships, I would think, like, okay, I'm going to go be a carpenter or an electrician or something of that nature. Did you know that there are actually paid apprenticeships now? They're called registered apprenticeship programs, and you will actually get paid as, you know, like a job while you're attending the course, or while you're attending your apprenticeship, however long it is, and then you'll get the job afterwards. You'll find employment afterwards. But there's a webinar on apprenticeships, but DOL as an agency, there are apprenticeships in the medical field, the IT field, nuclear medicine field. I mean, just so many different apprenticeships now that you wouldn't think it's not just, you know, hands-on welding work. And that is some things that, you know, maybe that's what you like to do, or maybe what you get at. But apprenticeships have extended into all aspects of employment now. It's unbelievable. Really great to know. I was going to say the medical nuclear that you mentioned was an interesting field that I hadn't heard of. Somebody else asked, how would you compare and differentiate what NVTI does from Psych Armor? If you're familiar. From Psych Armor. Okay. Yeah. So what NVTI does is we target the veteran service providers. And so that's what we're actually provisioned to do, is train veteran service providers. And so a lot of people, you know, have training for veterans themselves, or, you know, that's great. But we're trying to make those people that work hand in hand, face to face with veterans, more educated and, you know, better at their positions. Absolutely. Definitely gives me the big difference is that you're kind of taking those principles and applying them more applicably. So you're actually putting a little bit more to it with NVI training to be able to say, you know, okay, great, we know about the problem, or we know about this issue. Excuse me, but here's next steps. Here's how you implement and successfully transition that into the work that you're doing. Yeah, that's exactly right. And like I said, if there's a trend you're seeing, or, you know, a niche that you're serving, and you're not seeing, you know, training available for it, let me know. Because what we do every year, we come up with we call it a wish list. And basically it's all the ideas that we can think of that we've been provided feedback on, and we start categorizing and prioritizing that wish list. And so, you know, whatever we can fit into the top priorities that we can pay for, we develop it. And so there so many examples I could share that, you know, like we could say, yep, we're listening. Here's the training that you mentioned last year, and we're developing it this year. Wonderful. Well, I know we are just about at time, so I will leave with one final question, kind of going off of where you just were mentioning, you know, how often, if you aren't able to attend a true class, or, you know, be able to sit through the entire session, how often are you releasing or updating those mini modules or the podcast? Yeah. So typically they're on the website, they're on demand training, but every year we develop I'd say between 4 and 6 podcasts and webinars as well. New courses, usually 1 to 2 brand new courses as well. Again, it's all driven by feedback that we get. And it may be something that comes down from the White House, you know, maybe a president's priority, like, hey, we need to address this situation. What kind of training does DOL vets have in it? We're right on it. We're going to get going. That's kind of how we work. And so, yeah, I just, you know, kind of reemphasize that if you have an idea or a thought that you're thinking, man, it would be great to have training on this, please let me know. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. I really appreciate your time. And I know all of our partners who have joined us today also appreciate your time and the sharing of these resources that are available, but maybe not known to all of our partners. We thank you once again all for joining. We'll be sending out the slides and the recording afterwards. We do appreciate each of you joining. And Brandon, thank you again so much for your time and insight on this. Great. Thanks, Hunter. Take care. Absolutely. Have a great day.